Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Daft Previews podcast, the most underrated sports podcast in the nation of Australia. In this episode, we will talk through our random thoughts of the week, might touch on a few of the games last week as we discuss and preview this week of the finals. We've got two games coming up this weekend, so this podcast will be like fucking a prostitute the night before payday. You can only afford 30 minutes of it, so this is going to be a quick one. So strap a condom on. It's going to be fun. My name is Hector, and I'm joined by my co-host, Lycus. How you doing, big dog?
Yeah, good. I like the analogy. It is like a short one day short of a payday, but you're still going to have just as much fun no matter how long it goes for. You'll go back.
It's all about the ending.
You'll be back next week. Don't worry.
As promised, this will be a quick one. So let's get straight into this son of a bitch because I want to hear what your thought of the week was. You always seem to interest me when this comes up.
Yeah.
I feel like you've got something good coming. What do you got?
So my thought of the week was being obviously on social media and everything, and Instagram is one of the main sources of my social media. I've noticed there are certain people in life, because I look at myself since we've been in lockdown and I've looked pretty rough. I haven't had a haircut and since what week are we in? I don't know. It feels like 3 months, but it's probably 2 months. Over 2 months I haven't had a haircut. Haven't even really tidied up to go anywhere semi-professional, like work or go out or anything. So I'm looking a bit like a hobo, and it made me reflect on some things, how people can have this ability of really making themselves look a lot better on social media. And I looked, and I had a look on my phone the other day, and I tried putting a filter on, just seeing it, and I couldn't do it. And it just, everyone, and maybe
you put a filter on.
Yeah, well, that's how it works. Like you can't do it without a filter, right? Because, and I think one thing also I like, which is not my point, but another thought, is I like when people put on their stories or when they put on their stories, it says the filter they're using. I like that, name and shame. I think every post should have that, the name of the filter they're using. But all aside on that, it made me think. I had to look through on people on my stories. I'm going through stories and I'm seeing things and I'm like, how do people do this? Because you know what they look like in real life. And I think it's incredible. These people have a talent. And it's not just filters. They have this amazing talent of looking like an 11 out of 10 on social media when they're really a 7 out of 10 in real life with their makeup on and everything. Obviously, you've got those people. I've seen that TikTok of that girl who puts makeup on when she looks like she has no teeth and she all of a sudden looks like a model. Makeup, yeah, we all understand. But people, even with makeup, have the ability to take a photo and make themselves look even hotter. And then you see them at, like, I've seen it in real life. I've seen their photos on social media, and then you look at it like, wow, they're hot. And then you see them in that night and you're like, how did you do that? Like, it's not a filter. Like, it's incredible. And it's really dangerous as a male, because us males aren't very good, and those single males out there on dating platforms and everything like that, because there's catfishing, and then I think it's not even called catfishing, because catfishing is like when it's something totally different. But this is like seeing something that looks better than getting it and being underwhelmed. But we call it deception. That's what we call it. And I've really wondered, and it's very hard to ask someone that, because you're basically saying you're not an 11 out of 10, you're a 7 out of 8, which is, again, great numbers. Don't get me wrong. If I was tipping at 70%, that's a winning strike rate, right? But
and if you were bagging a 7 and bringing it home every week, you'd be pretty proud of yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Again, not exactly God's gift, but I'm just really curious as to how they do it. And everyone has those people. Like, I know they say filters.
Yeah.
But like, even with filters, it's incredible. You see them and then you see them that night. Like, how did you do that? Like, every single post you put up, you're an 11 out of 10. But then you see you're still good, but you're nowhere near it. And it's a trap.
Deception is real. And I think every man knows one or even multiple women who have their social game is this Melbourne Storm like it's undefeated. Like, how do they do this? How do they adapt with the times? How do they still come out with this such
rule
force
changes,
of deception?
New features, and so they just get better. They adapt.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They keep doing it, and then you see them in real life, and it's like you're up there, but this is not you. This is not right, and it's because it's very deceiving.
You get those ones where you see them and they've got makeup on and look really good. And you see them without makeup, you're like, whoa, what the heck? You're a different person. Again, not saying that they're ugly, but they're just nowhere near it. And you can understand, oh, it's makeup. Like, it literally puts a layer on your skin. Filters, I get, do stuff for lighting in your skin and everything. But these people, they just look absolutely stunning on social media. You go on their profile and then you meet them in person. You meet them in an environment where they're out or something, and they're nowhere near that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
isn't that? It's also dangerous. Like you're not going to meet and live a social media life. Like you're not fooling anyone. Lucky I know you, because I'm not falling for that. But I will fall for that again and again and again. And you know what? I will go back, because my hope is that 11's a 10 and not a 9 or an 8, because then I'm winning.
That's true. I do feel sorry for those people though, because the best side of them, their best version that they could possibly come up with, they don't see that. They crafted it. They put all this work in to show everybody else that this is what they are.
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, the other 95% of their life, they have to deal with their average looking self, which is probably a 7, but they're clearly not happy with that. Thus, it drives the need and the desire to put the 10 and 11 out there and deceive everybody else. So these people they're sad people.
Yeah, they are. But
I feel sorry for them.
everyone knows people in that circle. Like, the amount of times you'd be at the pub and you'll go, "Did you see blah blah blah's Insta post or something?" The boys were like, "Yeah, it was amazing, right?" But then you're like, someone one day will come in like, "How, like, her Insta game is on point, it's amazing, but then in real life she's still good, but it's not great." It's like, it's deception. Like, she 90% of them try in real life too. It's not like they're off the phone, or I'm gonna relax a bit. But it's, man, my thought is like, how do they do it? Like, why do they do it? How do they do it? And again, it's a very hard topic to ask someone, because you're basically calling them out on their looks, and as a bloke, that's taboo. Like, if you're interested in a girl, you've always got to say she looks great. Like, maybe when you're married, I don't know, do you call it if you say, "Nah, honey, you're looking shit tonight. Let's be honest. You're a 7. You can be better than that. Get back in there, put something else on." But
yeah, I say it. You shouldn't. You really shouldn't say
no,
that to people.
it's a bit like, "Oh, you look stunning." It's always what you say, right? That's what you should always say. But so it's very hard to go up to a girl that, again, you probably have no relationship with and go, "Why do you always look way better on social media than in person?" I'm just picturing the scenario in my head, and me just getting a drink thrown in my face.
Think after a few schooners, I might have the courage to do so.
I would too, if I was a safe distance and they had no drink in their hand, because I think that's the only thing they would do, is throw a drink. But again, I don't think I'd get any answers, so I don't think it'd be productive, because I just don't think they'd share the secrets. But yeah.
I also think there's a lot of guys out there who know they're being deceived, but they don't want to believe it. Like, it's happened to me. There was a stage in my life where I was frothing over certain individuals, and these ladies were divine on social media, and I knew in real life they weren't that hot. Yeah. And I refused to admit that. I wanted that social media person to be real.
So, scenario time, right? Say you're single back in the day, and
I'd love to pretend I'm single.
and you know that she's not like that in real life, and you meet her and start talking to her, right? And then your mates go, "Oh, what's her Insta and stuff?" That's what happened. Boys go, "Who is she? Let's see who she is." You give the Insta. You know this, right? They're going to be like, "Oh my God." And then when they're going to meet her, they're going to be like, they won't say it to you because they're just being respectful, but they're going to be thinking, "She is not what she was in the photos, mate. What have you done?" Like,
those ones, you never let them meet her. That's the thing.
You just show, like, "Oh, I went on a date with XYZ."
If you're ever with her, you say, "Oh, let's take a photo." You let her take the photo. You let her take 20 photos, and then you let her delete the other 19, which is shit, and then you show the boys as evidence.
You reckon that's the secret? Because I've never been a fan of photos, 100%. And I'm always like, "Nah, one and done. That's it. You get one it. That's it." Do you reckon because they take 30 photos?
Easily.
Could be it there.
Mate, and you know this, I am a failed YouTube star. Mate, I took many takes.
I'd say retired. I wouldn't say failed.
Retired. Yeah, that's true. I'm still getting views.
If you get cancelled, then you failed.
I'm a retired YouTube star, and the amount of takes I had to redo purely because I didn't look as good as I could. So definitely with those photos, they're taking 30, 40, 50 of them just to get the right angle. So fuck them. Fuck all those deceiving bitches.
Yeah, but don't
if you're a man out there and you think if those 11s don't want you, they're not really 11s. They're just an ordinary 8 like you. Like, lift your chin up, and the other one, and the other one. Like, you'll find a girl. It'll be fine. The big boys need loving too.
Exactly.
Now, my thought of the week is nothing like yours. That's not even close to it. If we can get any way to get through a rabbit hole and link these two together, I would be extremely surprised. But my thought of the week is that it's something that you hear all the time if you watch the footy a lot. So you probably, I don't know if you're fond of this, but I don't know that you've heard it. It's that fucking Menu Log song with Snoop Dogg.
Oh God.
That song is so fucking good, and it's always in my head, but it's never the Snoop Dogg version. All I hear in my head every fucking day is Ben Hunt. M E
Oh,
N
all of them.
U. Oh my
Do you?
god.
But honestly, like, as much as it annoys me, I think that ad has been the best marketing campaign
It's
of
so
any
good.
company any these 12
Yeah.
months. Like, everyone knows the Menu Log ad. You name another company, I couldn't tell you an ad off the top of my head about another company, but you name Menu
Yeah.
Log, I know their ad. Like, they have
That Menu Log is so
nailed.
good.
And I remember at the time people
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg, it's a bit. Why are they Snoop Dogg in?" But then, like, it
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
I'm assuming in Victoria they've got like an AFL version because we haven't really seen any AFL play. It's all like
Oh yeah, that's true.
Ben Hunt,
If you listen to
GI.
this and you are from Victoria, let us know. Is there a Menu Log? Fuck, it's probably got some AFL players on there.
Same with WA. I'm assuming WA would be showing Ben Hunt because they're gonna like, who the fuck's Ben Hunt? Like an Aaron Molan and that.
Yeah,
Like
true.
I reckon the other states
Yeah.
have it, and I think it's been huge. They keep running it, so I assume it is. But
It's so big. It's so good. Like
it's so
even
good.
Freddie's part in that whole ad, he's like the worst one. Like it
Yeah.
just didn't fit. But even that still sticks with me. Wonton in the catamaran with Burgess in there. It's fucking so good. That ad is just greatness. I wanted to ask if I don't know if you like it, but also has there ever been is there another ad as great as this one that you can recall?
For me, like the absolute epitome of ads has always been beer ads for me because I think beer has always maybe crossed like the same lines of sense of humor that I like and everything. So if you look back like the Carlton Draft ads, they run the slow-mo ones where they had this opera singer with the slow-mo and they showed you bits of a pub, just like you can just relate to it. Like obviously you're not doing everything there, but like you're spilling your beer and slow-mo, like playing pool and stuff. They're always good. Sports bet ads are really good too. Shout out Sports bet.
Yeah, sports.
I think I pay for some of those ads, which is good too. But
we all do.
The average Olympics, like that stuff, they're always very smart. Sports bet with their ads, even their social media. But like in terms of like effectiveness and remembrance, this like Menu Log one it's been like all year. I think
It's been going for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it is still going the same song, the same jingle, just adding in different people singing it and adding on to it. But it's surely done
it's
one.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah, honestly, great. And that's why I'm curious. I think in like Victoria, WA, South Australia, our brothers up in the Northern Territory there, they all have different ones. I can't see them having the same ones as us. So
I might have to fucking YouTube it to find out. But definitely a worthy investment because that wouldn't have been cheap to get the
how much do you reckon like
G
NRL players would have got paid? Because they got heaps in there. Heaps. Like surely I think Andrew Johns is in a Menu Log ad too when he texts. He's in a text message.
Wendell Sailor.
Yeah, then like
Wendell Sailor's in them.
I can't imagine him doing it for like cheap, like a Menu Log ad.
No, the eighth is expensive.
Yeah, because he doesn't like for the little things. Like he doesn't go on any podcasts. He refuses to go on podcasts. He does his Channel 9
we haven't asked him to go on to ours yet.
No, and that's probably why he says no to everyone else because we haven't asked yet. But he doesn't do that kind of stuff. He just went on that Swish, that people you pay to get the cameo messages and stuff like that. He just signed up to that and he was like anti doing that to begin with. I think the charity elements lured him in, but he's even on those ads. Like there's so many of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm sure I'm going to take it.
It's well worth it. Yeah. Like who's their competition? DoorDash's ads suck. It's got Teddy, Greg Bird on it, but that sucks.
Seen them on TikTok? Oh, you want to know how I made money to make these AirPods here? And that's how I advertise on TikTok. It's so annoying. That DoorDash have the worst ads. That swap them around. Many like have the best one. DoorDash have the worst. Uber just rely on their name. I'm guessing. I've never seen an Uber Eats ad from memory. If it was,
I think is that the one with the Survivor guy in it, or is that DoorDash as well?
I don't know. As I said, I couldn't tell you. But
anyway, shout out to Menu Log, Snoop Dogg, great fucking ad. Shout out to Ben Hunt, being in my head all the time, costing my boys a grand final 2015.
Yeah, I haven't got on
there. MENULOG. Oh, but on that note, let's dive into this week. So this week, we only got 2 games. We see some juicy lines, some value if you're chasing underdogs. Difficult one to punt on, I believe. Not the most easiest one, but that's why you motherfuckers have us. We'll do all the research for you. We'll give you the tips. They might be shit, but if you back them, that's your problem. The very first game though, it's the Manly Sea Eagles versus the Sydney Roosters. Manly, absolute shit show last week. Cost a lot of punters, including myself, a lot of money. The Roosters, gritty as always. Players getting injured. Failed to cover the line, but just won the game. Almost lost it. Should have lost it. Should young Herbert been able to pass the ball. But they definitely got out of jail last week. So interested to see how they turn up. Manly, off the back of a 40-12 hiding to the Melbourne Storm. In that game, Manly only had 39% of the ball. 39%.
Oh.
They had 10 fewer sets than Melbourne. They had Jake Trbojevic worked his ass off in defence. 48 tackles last week. The person who made the most tackles for Melbourne was Kenny Bromwich with 28. So he definitely had a lot of tackling practice last week. Manly were dominated. They had 0 line breaks compared to Melbourne's 5. So surely Des got the boys ready to go around this week. For the Roosters, they were fucking shithouse in terms of completion rate. They only 67% completion rate. They were dropping the balls all over the joint last week, but still got away with a 1-point win. In terms of players, ins and outs, the Roosters, they're going to be missing Takiaho. He's got a leg injury. So Nat Butcher's back off a knee injury. Sam Verrills, massive shoulder charge to some bloke's face.
Unlucky too.
It wasn't lucky. What else could he have done? Look, it really depends on where you watch that one. Because on 9, they were all saying, what else could you have done? And on Fox, it was like, those are the rules.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's out for 2 weeks. So unlucky for Verrills. They've got to make the grand final for him to play another game this year. For Manly, Lachlan Croker's back. He'll be back in the number 9. He was late to withdrawal last week after a back problem. Kyle Lawton moves to the interchange. Now, Manly are $1.31 favourites. The Roosters at $3.50. The line on this one is 10.5. If you're looking at total match points, it's 46.5. How do you see this game going?
I see it going as I see Manly winning, but I think what people forgot about going into last week with Manly Melbourne, obviously hindsight's a great thing, reflection's a great thing. But if we looked at Manly the 2 weeks prior to last week, they were slow starters. So the Bulldogs, I think, were beating them 12-6 at one point. And then last week, the week prior against the Cowboys, they were very clunky first half, a try and half time, put them ahead by a little bit, and then they ran away in the second half of both games. Problem is they couldn't afford to do that against Melbourne. And what did they do? They had 3 errors. Morgan Harbour had a mare of a start, 3 errors, and they conceded 3 tries. So it wasn't like they were defending poorly. They just gave possession over at the wrong point in the field, and then Melbourne ran on top of them. I think with Manly also, they don't have great goal line defense. They're solid, but they honestly rely on Tommy Turbo running riot and that attack, running riot, and they're not having to focus so much on defense. So that's where they're going to get caught out. And I feel that's where why they won't win the comp. They're going to, if they win this, they play Souths next week, and South showed they can defend and go for 80 minutes.
They were so good.
They were unbelievable against Penrith. Unbelievable.
Reynolds was so good.
Yes.
Can't wait to see him in a Broncos uniform.
Massive loss for them.
Hey, there's a Broncos mention.
There's one. We're back. The second point, and he's going to have another because he's playing next week. The next point on about the Roosters is their defense is absolute dog shit as well. Like, they leaked like some silly tries, but like, again, where they leak them is when they come up with silly errors. So both teams struggle to hold the ball, and both teams struggle with a bit of pressure on their line. So that is why for this game, I'm taking the overs over 46.5. I think Manly will win, but to be safe, I think it could be a game like it was for the Roosters last week. It could be a 20, 26, 24 game. It could be, absolute a shootout, because both teams are suspect defending on their line, and I'm not trusting Manly to cover such a big line against a stronger team. If it was against the Dogs and those lower teams, yes, I do, because those teams just can't. They're easy to defend on the line. So the over 46.5. for me. And in terms of value, there's like not a huge amount jumping out. I think if you're going maybe an anytime try scorer, Olakau'atu at $3.40, they'll hit him every single time they get a chance. I think Jared Wallace bombed over on the weekend for the Titans. I believe a couple of forwards scored for the Titans. Obviously, big Fafita.
Ikavalu got the try assist for Jared Wallace's try, though.
But you had Jared Wallace, you had Big Tino also went over on the weekend. So Roosters again are on the edges, aren't the best defenders. They do leak points up through the middle. So Olakau'atu could be a goer there.
Yeah. I foresee Manly winning by 8 points exactly. Those things I foresee never happen, so don't touch that. But my bet for this one's quite different to yours. I do see Manly winning it, but at the same time, the Roosters team, despite their injuries, is stacked full of heaps of players who've done it before. Whereas a lot of these Manly guys haven't done it before, unless you're talking about Cherry and Foreign. A lot of these guys haven't got it done at this time of year, and they get a little bit rattled, get a little bit spooked with all the pressure that comes with it. I am going with the Roosters to cover the line in the first half. So it's 5.5 points. Manly, like you said, slow starters.
Yeah.
I think the Roosters can keep this close in the first half. But there's a potential blowout in the second if Manly run away with it. But at the same time, Teddy could turn up. He normally does at this time of year. So it's Teddy v Turbo. There's a lot of experience in this Rooster side in these big games. So I'm hoping that keeps it close. I'm pretty confident it will in the first half. In what happens in the second half, who knows? It all depends on how Manly comes out. If they can get over the top of them, they could blow it out, or it could be a close one where both teams are just clawing back and forth. Anything could really happen. In terms of value for this one, I like one of the Manly forwards going over, but I do like one of their props. So I think anytime I do like potentially Tapau banging himself over. I don't have a lot of confidence in them scoring out wide for this one because Garrick continues to fuck me and Saab continues to score. Like Garrick's got me a couple times now. Despite scoring 20 odd tries this year, continues to fuck me. So Saab's probably the safe play. But if you're looking for value, I'd be looking at someone like Marty Tapau, even fucking Sipley off the bench. Juicy fucking odds.
There's big odds on the forwards, but if you look at the Roosters the last few games, they've leaked points in the forwards. As we said, Wallace and Tino. Week prior, Papali'i or Papali, whatever you want to call him, and Whitehead also scored against them in that flogging of the Raiders. And then even you go back the week before, they got flogged by South. Mr. Mark Nichols popped up with a double. So forwards are getting
a prop try.
They are getting through the middle, these forwards against the Roosters, and all of them are scoring on inside their 20 on the goal line. It's not like they're
could be Jake. Jake Trbojevic scored a double not too long ago.
Could be Jake, but I think forwards is where the value is.
Yeah. Well, all the props are Manly paying $8.50 if you want to have a taste.
There you go.
Get that up, yeah. So that's pretty juicy. Now, jumping into the next game, I'm not as excited to watch this game because I don't like Parramatta at all. And Penrith haven't been red hot. They were quite disappointing last week. So we see Penrith v Parramatta. This is at 7:50 on your slutty Saturday. It's normally labelled as they're Western Sydney rivals, but they're meeting in the north of Queensland.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to have the home crowd there. Do you have any connections up there? Up in Queensland, Penrith supporters?
Para are a much bigger club in Queensland. Typically, usually you find the older clubs have the bigger fan bases outside of their town. Obviously, generations have gone by and they've moved and travelled and apart from the Melbourne Storm. Apart from the Melbourne Storm in Queensland, but that's because they had a team full of Queensland Immortals. That's what you'll find. Para have more fan bases than Penrith.
I see. So slight edge to Parramatta there. The rundown on this one, though, Moses Leota and Dylan Edwards, they've both been named to return. They were late withdrawals against the Rabbitohs. Stephen Crichton moves to the wing. Charlie Staines out of the side, which is pretty good in my opinion. Doesn't have those strong carries that you need, especially at this time of year. For the Eels, Ryan Madison's back on deck. He was left out of the 17 last week. Clint Gutherson, Ferguson, they were both injured last week. Not last week, sorry. They were injured recently with some leg injuries. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm not even drinking tonight. But they should be right up against Penrith. That's a dangerous sign. Those two blokes being out injured. Fergo, I thought his leg was broken. Did you see that last week?
I don't know.
He was blown up deluxe. He couldn't even walk it off. 5 minutes later, he's running.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hero.
But if you look at his face, you can see that he's been through a few car crashes. He's a tough bloke, just by looking at him. I'm really keen to see Fisher Harris and RCG go at it. They usually, I don't know if they're close mates or not, but it's always pretty exciting when those two go head to head. Looking at this game though, Penrith heavy favourites, $1.22, despite the shit show last. Well, it wasn't a shit show. South were amazing, but they lost when they were expected to win. I definitely did back them to cover that line. $1.22, Parramatta at $4.25. If you're looking at the line on this one, it's 12.5 points. Total points have just moved to 43.5. They were 42.5 when we were discussing this an hour ago.
Yes.
So
they've drifted.
That's moved up a point. So a lot of people taking the overs on that one, 43.5. But as a Penrith Panthers man, are you confident enough to back your boys to cover this line?
I'm not going to back the line. Again, I feel that line's too big for. At the end of the day, it's a team coming off a loss, which was a shock loss, versus a team that's coming off a win against. Yeah, they should have won the game. They did win. They weren't 100% convincing, but they won. So they've got. You're playing a team coming off a win, team coming off a loss. That was Cleary's actual first loss with Penrith this year. Little stat for you guys. And a lot of their players, it was their first loss of the year. So it's a bit different to seeing how they handle responding to a loss. You can't really gauge much by what the media and what they say to media. Everything's going to give you generic answers. But at the end of the day, it was South. I thought as frustrating as the game was to watch, I thought Souths were actually pretty damn good the whole 80 minutes. They frustrated Penrith. They played unbelievable. That was the best game I've seen Souths play in God knows how long, for 80 minutes. Like, even when they went on that run, that win streak, when they played a big team, they just capitulated, and they didn't capitulate despite going behind early against Penrith. But I'm expecting Penrith to bounce back. I think they'll win. I don't know if they'll cover the 12.5, but I think they'll win, and then that's going to set up an absolute juicy preliminary final against Melbourne, which is interesting because that win for South all of a sudden has made that side of the draw so much weaker, because you've got Penrith and Para and Melbourne on the same side. Melbourne, who are arguably the best team in the comp. No one's going to deny that. But Para and Penrith. Para have beaten Melbourne twice this year, and Penrith have beaten Melbourne. So Melbourne's 3 losses this year are all on the same side of the draw, and they're going to have to face that team to get through to a grand final, which is absolutely nuts. Like, their bogey teams are all on the same side. So I don't think Melbourne, when they look at it, are going to be cheering for particular teams. I don't think either team's going to be someone they'd rather play. So I think they'll beat Para, however, Penrith, and go through. In terms of any time try scorers, one thing I'll tell you guys to avoid is Kickow. Kickow can't fucking score to save his fucking life against good teams. He's absolute dog shit, and the fact he wants $1 million is absolutely mind-boggling. So stay away from him. But I would, for any time, look at someone like Matt Burton. I think that left edge for Penrith, obviously right edge for Para, is their weak spot, so they are going to go down that left edge, and Burton likes to run more than he likes to pass, and he's paying $2.10 for an anytime. So I can see him getting over. But that's how I'm leaning. How do you see it going?
I want Parramatta to win. Do I see it happening? Yes. Do I see them covering the line? Fuck, who knows? Like you said, it's a tricky line. That 12.5 is, look, it's good if you want to back Parramatta, because Penrith winning by 7, I can see. 10, I can see. 12, I can see. 13, I'm not too sure. But I'm taking a very similar approach to my last bet. I'm taking Parramatta with the first half handicap. It's 5.5. It's paying $2.07. I think Penrith coming off a loss, they'll come into this game knowing that they don't want to make any errors. I foresee them playing safe, a lot more direct because they lost that. They didn't necessarily lose the battle up the middle, but they didn't earn the
They
right
lost
to move
it.
sideways.
They were beaten in the middle.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to upset you at all, but
No,
fuck, they suck up the
I
middle.
was already upset on Saturday night, and thankfully Ronaldo scored for me and cheered me up because it's my birthday as he scored. So I was very happy with that. But before that, I was very pissed off.
So you should be. But yeah, see Penrith really straightening things up and playing safe and conservative and dominating up the middle and then running away with it late. But that first half, Parramatta coming off a win, they'll be confident. They know they can't play that gritty bullshit way and beat Penrith, so they've got to get a little bit flamboyant with it. Got to get the offloads happening, and they've got to get Mitchell Moses running. He's spent probably half the season not running, and the other half tearing teams apart. Surely, with a game of this magnitude, he only has one option, and he should be fucking running in this one. So I see Parramatta covering that first half handicap, 5.5, $2.07. For any time try scorers, none. I don't like the try scorers on any of these teams. None of them consistent. I did look into Matt Bird, and he goes for stretches where he'll score 8 tries in 5 weeks and then not score a try for 5 weeks. Like, he's a fucking lunatic, that bloke. None of them are consistent, but I think it's because they have so many different weapons. Same as Parramatta. Sivo scored like 15 tries in the first 8 weeks and then didn't score anything for 6 weeks straight, then got injured. Dunster was in his position last week, couldn't fucking score. It was the only leg I needed. You got halves that pretend like Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses, both capable of scoring, but will they? Fuck, I don't know. Papali'i, he went on this massive streak of scoring, then went absolutely quiet. Same as Madison, same as Sean Lane. Like, they have so many different guys who score. It's too hard for me to pick one. So fuck it. Not picking try scorers. It's an absolute scam. Scam. Not happening. Value play. Parramatta to win head to head.
Value. My pick, was unders. Get on the unders. That was my
Get
pick.
on the unders. Okay.
I think if Para wins, it's got to be unders. I can't see Para winning and going over 42.5. Like, I can't see Para flogging Penrith, and I can't see it being a high scoring close game. I think if Para win, it's going to be low. It's similar to South. It's going to be like a 16-6, 16-10, 22-16 max. Like, that's how I look at it, because Penrith's defense, with Cleary back, they're only averaging, I think, 12 points a game conceded still. So they're not, again, the best defensive team in the comp. So if you're going to go Para, chuck it in the same game multi with the unders, because that'll juice that little bit up a bit more. If you really want to get juicy there, you put Para 1 to 12 at $5 into the unders. You're getting $7.75.
Oh, I just might have a dabble. I do like that, actually. But fuck, I hate Parramatta. I don't want to put money on them. I don't want to do that. Don't make me do that.
Either or, whoever wins this game, I'm hoping they beat Melbourne, because I think a either South Manly grand final versus a Penrith Para grand final would be pretty damn exciting to watch, as opposed to Melbourne in it every single year.
Yeah, just cleaning teams up.
Yeah.
Fucking dirty bastards. But look, that wraps up today's podcast. 2 games. Got a little bit of length out of it. So a little bit of dribbling there, but I'm happy we got there in the end. And I leave this podcast feeling quite confident in the selections that we've made this week. And if we're wrong, we'll go fuck ourselves. But any last words?
No. As I said, join the Discord, join the Facebook group, get amongst it. Plenty of good tips going around, a lot of shit tips, and that's what we love to see. Bit of equality in our world. So get in there, have a laugh, communicate, tell us what you think, rip into the podcast. If we're shit, we sound shit. We got feedback that we sounded garbage with our mics. We're trying to work on it. Anything else you want to hear, if you want to shout out, give us a bell. We'll shout you people out. But that's it from me.